Okay, up until this point, we've been drawing our walls, and we want to make sure they are full length of walls. So we don't want to have, even if it changes, like for instance here, we want to make sure all these little bump outs, if this was just a little bump out, we want to make sure these are all full long sections of walls. The wall join tool that we just went over, it doesn't join walls that are, it only joins walls that are perpendicular. So you can't join walls that are parallel, that run, they need to be the same wall. So for instance, if I've accidentally split, if I accidentally have two walls instead of one, so here I can see that I've done two walls instead of one, I can just delete a section, multiple select the walls, command join, and I have that full length wall again. So our full length walls, within those walls are doors and windows, and we're gonna place them within the wall. So if I scroll down in my building shell menu, there is a door tool and a window tool. They act very similarly. In this case, I'm going to select my door tool. I can see as I do so, I get this little door icon for my cursor. So I can see that I could place it anywhere. I could place a door. It requires 2 clicks to insert, and I will go over that. With my door just placed anywhere, I can see up in my object info palette, it just says door. We don't want our doors just floating wherever. We want them actually within our walls. So this time, if I hover over a wall, I can see it highlights it in red, and it's like the door locks in that plane of a wall. So the first click places the door. The second click sets the orientation. So I can have left in swing, right in swing, left out swing, up, right out swing. So I can set how I want my door. I can make all those changes after as well. So this time I've created this door, I've created it in a wall, and I can see in my object info palette it says door in wall. And what it does is it nicely cuts out the wall and places the door. There's in my object info palette, there's tons of different settings that I can change. And for right now, I can see that there's a door style, and I can see that I'm doing an unstyled wall or unstyled door. I can also replace it, and new plugin style, we won't go over that, but I could replace it for a styled wall if I wanted to. I could go into settings. That brings me into my door settings, and all those options that were in my object info palette are now organized into menus and available in this door settings dialog box. I can go down and I can flip this door. So if I place the orientation the way I didn't want to, I can go flip. Now what happens with flip is it rotates around like a circle. So it's gonna flip it horizontally, well, depending which, it's gonna flip it horizontally, then it's gonna flip it vertically, then it's gonna flip it horizontally, and then it's gonna flip it vertically again. So in this case, each door looks different. There are gonna be cases where it won't. So just to be aware of that, that's that flip button. I can also change the width. We're not really we'll leave the height as it's set. So the width right now, this is a 3-foot door. So if I wanted to make it a 32-inch door, I can just click in the data field and enter 32, and I've made my door smaller. There's also configuration. Right now, if this is a simple swing door, if I click on the drop-down menu, it says I could just create an opening, I could create a cased opening. There's simple swing, which we were just on. There's swing by part, so a French door. Now that width that I placed in here was for the leaf of the door. So usually then I need to double the width. So if I wanted to make a 6-foot French door, I'm gonna undo that because the next one down is a pocket simple. So a pocket door. There's also a pocket bipart. There's bifold simple, bifold bipart, double acting, slider, overhead, and complex swing. So you can click on the drop down menu and explore the different configurations and how you can set those up. If I go back to my door tool and select my door tool, which is Shift Option D, I can see that this is the standard insertion mode. So I just clicked and placed that first click I made, placed the location of the door, and then the second one did the orientation. There is also this offset insertion mode. So a lot of times when we're placing our doors, we want them a certain distance from, say, a wall. So especially if we've taken a measurement and we know it's a specific distance, we'll use this offset insertion mode. So if I click and select this offset insertion mode, I can see that my cursor no longer is a door because that first click that we're placing is that reference point. So in this case, I want my reference point to be this corner of the wall. And then I click and then my cursor turns into a door. And I can see that it's locking this side, and it's going to depend on which way the door swings, but that's that distance to the outside. So I'll do this at tab in and go 2 feet and hit enter. It locks the location, but I still have to be aware of the orientation. So it looks like it's gonna click swing over the wall, but right now I'm just placing that location, and then I can see how I can change the door swing and it places it accordingly. It brings my second click, when I click that orientation, it says, brings up this enter offset dialog box. I actually typed in 2 feet, but then I moved my cursor a bit, so it kind of gives you this second checkpoint. So my offset, I don't want it to be this. I wanted it to be the 2 feet. I can hit enter. And then now I should be measuring from this point to this point is that 2 feet that I set. Now, in my door tool, if I look, I can see that when I click and I do my offset insertion mode, these are the different reference points. So I can do left, I can toggle, this is U, I, O. So I'm going to toggle my O key, and I can see as I do so, the location of the door compared to my cursor changes. So I can hit O, and I can do center. This is custom. This is the left. This is center, and this is right. So once I've set that reference point, I can then toggle between those options to make sure I get what I want. Right now, at this point, we're just going to be using unstyled doors. So those attributes I can set in my object info palette. So this should actually be a white fill, and we want it to look like this with a white fill and a solid line. If I have to deselect, I can go in and change that. I can see that up in my mode menus, I have this definition or wall styles. I can do, right now I am doing unstyled walls, but there is also, or unstyled doors, there is also multiple styled doors you can select from. If I go into the wrench and the pencil, again, that's that door tool preferences. Selecting that brings me into my door preferences, and I can change all these settings. So that width, like I was saying before, the configuration, and all these we can also change after creation in our object info palette. Any questions? All good?